Hello everyone, welcome. This is Nick from Top Sports, and today we got a lot to discuss. Let's hop right into this thing.
180. 180, set.
Hello everyone, welcome. This is Nick from Top Sports. Today we're going over the 2023 San Francisco 49ers offseason salary review and offseason moves for 2023. The San Francisco 49ers under head coach Kyle Shanahan and a variety of different quarterbacks finished their season with a record of 13-4, finishing first in the NFC West, making the playoffs, and beating Seattle in the first round, then beating the Dallas Cowboys in the second round, then ultimately losing to the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC Conference Championship after rookie quarterback Brock Purdy went down with an injury. With all that being mentioned, this team is in good hands with Kyle Shanahan steering the ship forward. But the question that remains, who will be this team's future quarterback? Will it be Trey Lance? Will it be Brock Purdy? What's the situation? What's going to happen? I want to say this first. Brock Purdy had a hell of a run this past season. Whether or not he's a quarterback of the future, I have no idea. Probably not. You don't spend 3 first-round picks for Trey Lance to use the Mr. Irrelevant pick. But Brock Purdy did run this offense very well. What I do want to mention is this. Kyle Shanahan also made Nick Mullins look good, made C.J. Beathard look good, Jimmy Garoppolo look good, and I think Trey Lance's ability at his peak could be phenomenal. The question is, will he ever reach his max potential? Coming out of the draft, I was not very high on Trey Lance, to be quite honest. I had, people like Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones, Zach Wilson. I know that was definitely going to be wrong, but even Zach Wilson higher than him. And, right now it's been a huge concern on whether or not Trey Lance's injury history and injury concerns, if he can last in the NFL. And right now, that's exactly what we're seeing. So whether or not he can last is a question. Can he get through an entire season? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. So long story short, they went 13-4 this past season. This is going to be a mock free agency, mock draft, mock off season, and what we predict the San Francisco 49ers are going to do. Let's hop right into this thing. Real fast, let's look in the top left corner of the screen. You guys have $13.5 million in cap space. Again, that's actually not bad compared to a lot of the other teams in the league, especially being first in the division in the NFC West and having a record of 13-4. I mean, having positives is very unlikely, very, very strange, very oddball. Let's go with that one. Compared to most other teams in the National Football League. I mean, you got a team like the Saints that are deeply in the negatives, right? So this team being in the positives, really good sign there. The guys in green are guys that if you cut them, you save money. Guys in red, if you cut them, you lose money. Another quick thing, though, too, these are guys that are currently under contract. These guys are, actively on the 2023 lineup. If they're not listed here, that means they need to either be re-signed or you're going to let them test free agency. So real fast, quick example, if you go out and cut Trent Williams, which you're not going to do, though, you would save $3.7 million. If you go out and you cut someone like Deebo Samuel, which you would never do, you lose $26.6 million. So a good rule of thumb here is this. If they're in the green and they didn't play well, there's a chance you cut them. If they're in red, you're probably not going to cut them even if they play bad because you're ultimately going to lose cap space, which makes no sense. One big problem here is this. You guys don't have someone at center right now listed. There's nobody on your roster right now at the center position. So therefore, you're going to have to try to bring somebody back. With that all being mentioned, let's look at our notable losses. Here are our notable losses. These are the guys that are currently not under contract and need to either be re-signed or you're going to let them walk in free agency. Let's check out and see who they are. But I should say this before we do check out and see who they are. We must look at the percent of snaps played. Percent of snaps played is calculated by the percent of snaps a player has played when they were actively on the game day lineup. If they were on the IR for 16 games this season and played one game, but they played 100% of the snaps. The flaw in this percent of snaps played is that if they played 100% of snaps for that one game, it would say 100% of snaps played this season, which is disgusting. Okay, so just know that. That's my little warning flag, okay? Here we go. Cornerback Emmanuel Mosley, expected contract a 4-year, $66.7 million deal. He played 96% of the snaps. Next guy, offensive tackle Mike McGlinchey, expected contract a 4-year, $43 million deal. Played 94% of the snaps. Next guy, edge rusher Samson Abukum, expected contract a 3-year, $23.2 million deal. He played 61% of the snaps. Next guy, safety Jimmy Ward, is expected contract a 2-year, $7.6 million deal. He played 74% of the snaps. And last but not least, Jimmy Garoppolo, quarterback, expected contract a 4-year, $139.7 million deal. Played 55% of the snaps. Now, with all that being mentioned, you're going to say, who are you going to bring back? Well, we only got $13 million, so there's not a lot of room to work with here. A good rule of thumb is for a team that's in really good cap situation. If they play a high percent of the snaps and they play well during those high percent of snaps, typically the team will look to bring them back. Unfortunately for the Niners, they are on the positive, which is good, but they don't have a ton of cap space, and there's not a lot of guys that they can move on from to save money. So now let's look at our potential targets and my predictions. Here we are, the potential targets. Estimated cap space, you guys get $13.5 million. Estimated signings, we're going to bring back Mike McGlinchey on a 4-year, $42.8 million deal, which is a $10.7 million cap hit. You guys are going to be like, that's all you got us doing? Well, look, after that one signing, you only got $2.8 million left in cap space. The only other thing we could see you guys possibly doing, but again, we don't predict it. The only thing you guys could do here is, sign Mike McGlinchey and then franchise tag Emmanuel Mosley, considering that Emmanuel Mosley is going to be demanding over $15 million a year, which you guys don't even have $15 million. Now, again, there's a way to work around the cap. You guys can do restructures and stuff. We don't predict that on the channel. We like to do a hard cap. So what we had to predict was, would you bring back both players? We just don't feel like it's likely. It's possible. But again, we had Emmanuel Mosley going elsewhere. Again, though, it is possible. You could sign Mike McGlinchey, but you have to do it real soon. And then if you re-sign Mike McGlinchey real soon, then you would have to go on and use a franchise tag for Emmanuel Mosley, and you could bring him back too. But again, in our prediction, we only got Mike McGlinchey coming back. Team needs, you got wide receiver, center, offensive guard, offensive tackle, linebacker, cornerback, safety. You got 2 third-round picks. In the first third-round pick, we got you drafting Juice Scruggs to fill in that center need. And in the third round, also, we got you drafting Parker Washington, a wide receiver. So now you look at this. We're filling that wide receiver need by drafting Parker Washington. We're filling in that center need by drafting Juice Scruggs. And we're filling that offensive tackle need by re-signing Mike McGlinchey. In the later rounds, hopefully you can draft the interior offensive lineman, draft a linebacker, draft a cornerback, and draft a safety. But again, it is possible if they go out and re-sign Mike McGlinchey. If you want to bring in both, you have to re-sign McGlinchey, and then you can go out and franchise tag Emmanuel Mosley. And again, it is possible. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Let's move on to our expected lineup. Here is our 2023 expected starting lineup. Now, again, you see blue, you see orange, you see yellow. Okay, there is a lot of yellow, and yellow is not a good thing. Yellow for us is considered placeholders. These are guys that we feel like that can be replaced immediately, or at least the team will look to try to, have people competing for that spot. Looking at a guy here, Spencer Burford. So you got Spencer, you got Lenore, you got Oren Burks, and you got George Odom. You got those 4 guys that we feel like that you guys have competing for the spot. Hopefully, you guys can draft someone in the later rounds, sign a real cheap free agent that can compete for the spot, or even an undrafted free agent, come to training camp, or maybe even have someone stored on the roster or something. You guys know more about these yellow guys than I do. Again, we list these guys as placeholders because according to the PFF, their grades are low, or according to our own personal analysis. Now, again, I don't really know many of these guys, so most of these guys are listed as yellow because of their low PFF grade. But then again, though, you guys know better than we do. With that all being mentioned, in orange is our re-sign. We're re-signing Mike McGlinchey. And last but not least, we are having 2 draft picks. We are drafting Juice Scruggs to play at center right away, and we're drafting Parker Washington to play as that third wide receiver almost right away, or at least to be a depth piece. We look at this team. This team went 13-4 last season. This season, they're going to try to take great strides forward under Kyle Shanahan. If Trey Lance can stay healthy, and these are the moves you guys make, with a pretty solid offensive line, with a really good running back in Christian McCaffrey, and you can't forget about Elijah Mitchell, who I was a big fan of coming out of the draft. Between Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Parker Washington, and George Kittle, Bringing back Mike McGlinchey to lock down that right side with Trent Williams on the left side. Nick Bosa coming off the edge with Javon Kinlaw and Eric Armstead locking down the middle. You still got a very solid defense. Most of your defense is staying the same, but you're going to have to fill in the biggest void on defense, which is losing your defensive coordinator in D'Amico Ryans. With all this being mentioned, with all this being stated, I expect the San Francisco 49ers in 2023 to finish with a record of 11-6, finishing first in the NFC West and making a pretty strong push in the NFC playoffs. Again, finishing first in the NFC West, going 11-6, and making a strong push in the NFC playoffs. You are losing a lot of pieces in this mock-up, but again, a coach like Kyle Shanahan, who I feel like is going to go down as one of the greatest coaches of all time, I feel like he will figure out a way to get this team to be competitive. And again, when the cap space stays strong over the next few years, let's hope, and you figure out your quarterback position, if Trey Lance is a guy or not, hopefully this team can make many strides forward. If you guys are new to the channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Until next time, we'll see you guys soon. Peace. We are Built Better.